Hi, my name is Jan Welch, and welcome to the second episode of the Then and Now podcast. Currently, this podcast is only available on YouTube, but will soon be available through podcast streaming services. This podcast is different than most podcasts out there, as the YouTube version has a lot of supporting photos and video overlaid on top of the interview that pertains to what we're talking about at the moment. It's a lot of work to do this, so please let me know if you like it or not. If you do, hit the like button below. Leave any comments or suggestions you may have as well. Also, I have a Patreon set up, so if you like this work and you want to see more, you can become a Patreon supporter. If you become a supporter, you'll receive exclusive content in the future, edits, B-roll, stuff that I won't be posting on this channel. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, please hit the subscribe button. You can hit the bell icon to be notified of all new uploads. And let's get started with episode 2. Today I'm going to be talking with Caleb Smith. He's an aggressive skater turned big wheel blader, and is now known for his ultra distance skates around the country. So Caleb, where are you from and where do you live now?
Originally, I'm from the Quad Cities, which is like right on the border of Iowa and Illinois. I kind of grew up in between the two. And then now I reside in Des Moines, Iowa, which is like right back in the center of Iowa.
And how long have you been there?
For the better part of 8 years now. I had a little bit of time in there where I was traveling, so I wasn't based, really anywhere, but I ended up coming back to Des Moines because I just really love this city.
So you started aggressive skating before you moved to Des Moines, or when you got there?
Before I moved to Des Moines. I started aggressive skating in 6th grade. So at that point I was living in central Illinois, like Peoria, Illinois area. Did that forever. I moved to Des Moines when I was 22. So I'm 31 now. So that's, 9 years. So I was well into aggressive skating when I moved to Des Moines, and I had not yet started big wheel blading.
And when did you start big wheel blading?
Honestly, I ordered a set of shadows, and they came with a set of 4x80 frames.
Mm-hmm.
And I tucked them in my closet for 6 or 7 months. And then people were skating less. It was getting kind of cold, and I was really bored. So I put them on, and I just started skating around downtown, and just really was whoa, I like this. This is different than the normal kind of skating I've been doing. And
Des Moines downtown's pretty easy to skate around. It's, it's fairly flat, has some mild hills, and not too many people or traffic.
Yeah, it's weird. It's the capital of Iowa. It's the biggest city in Iowa, but it's downtown is this 3 mile square radius, kind of super easy traffic flow. It's really clean, really well maintained, all the roads and the sidewalks, and our bike infrastructure is super good. So yeah, it's a really great place to skate. It's you have the feel of a big city, but it's really super condensed. It's small. It's a little bubble, and it's really enjoyable because I be a little more carefree when I'm skating versus skating around a bigger city like Denver or Chicago or New York. You're on super high alert when you're skating, so you can't, you're not as free with yourself. You can't have as much fun with it because you're minding traffic and stuff so much.
Right. More. Yeah, I skated with you in Des Moines when I moved to Vermont in 2017, and I stayed over at Zach Gottweiler's house. And we went skating downtown, and that was a lot of fun. We were with your homie, what's his name again? The roller skates. AJ, who just moved to San Diego.
Yeah.
So that should be fun for him. San Diego's a great skating town.
Yeah, definitely. I'm sad he moved away, right after our new park was finished. So I'm kind of skating it by myself or with Katie. But I'm excited for him. Yeah, there's a ton of skating out there, and he met a cool lady that's a skater as well. So they're kind of.
Yeah, that's rad. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. So you moved to Iowa, to Des Moines, and you were aggressive skating. And what was the scene like there when you moved there?
Good. Iowa's always had a really awesome scene. Even before I moved to Des Moines, I was traveling to Iowa every weekend and all summer long. Davenport, Iowa, which is in the Quad Cities, has a really great skate park. So we'd always be having events there. I got into the Iowa scene and just started street skating with all those guys. And they were the primary group I skated with, there was like 3 of us from Illinois that skated. So we would just like travel to the Quad Cities, meet up with those guys, travel to Iowa City, meet up with those guys, and just like have huge street sessions. And even when I moved here, like we still had like a solid crew of like 10 of us that were going out filming constantly. We like filmed a whole series of videos over the course of like 5 years. You filmed the ender clip of my section in Iowa at 2.5.
Yeah, that's right. In Austin, Texas, when you came to visit, you brought both aggressive skates and big wheel blades.
Yes.
And you had some power slides, I believe.
Yeah, I had the power slide swell 125.
That's right. And you had just gotten them, right?
Yeah, I was skating the 4x80s, and then for New Year's, I thought the 3 125s looked really cool, and I just bought them for New Year's for myself. And then I think I went to Austin like 2 weeks later or 4 weeks later, maybe. So yeah. I was like brand new on them.
And you were staying at the hostel there on the water, right outside of downtown Austin. And I remember picking you up for we did a few days of aggressive skate sessions, filming, which were a lot of fun. And you really got worked on that one church rail, if you remember.
Oh, I remember. Three-stole, and I like hit my hip and every other part of me.
And then, you did that gap at the school off a second-story balcony over rail. And then we also did some big wheel blading. And we did that, 26-mile skate from Austin to Manor on the South Walnut Creek Trail. And was that one of your first long-distance skates?
That was my first ever long distance. It was 33 miles.
33 miles.
Yeah,
that was a pretty good skate.
It was a good skate, yeah. And then we went to the cool diner in the small town, and it was like, I remember people being like cool vibes on it. And then, the whole experience was good. And then, I don't even know. I just kept going after that. It's like I just didn't stop.
Yeah, the trail is a beautiful trail. So nice. No, it doesn't go over any roads. It's just bridges and tunnels.
I remember we ended up being on a stretch of closed down interstate too. That like, do you remember that?
Yeah, with the hill bomb.
Yeah,
that was really fun. So when you went back to Iowa after that trip, that's when you sort of started doing more long distance skating.
I continued like just blading around for exercise, and then that summer was when I did my first RAGBRAI.
Okay, which is a like 430-mile race across Iowa.
Yeah, it's not a race, it's a ride.
It's a ride. So 430 miles is a big difference from 33 miles in Austin. What was the biggest skate you did before RAGBRAI?
That was the biggest skate.
That was the biggest skate.
Yeah, I came back to Des Moines and I kept doing my like 7 miles, 10 miles, and thinking like, that's a good workout. And then RAGBRAI came up and I like thought I was prepared. But wow, that one really, you interviewed me about that one before for big wheel blading.
Right.
And yeah, that really rocked me like physically and mentally too, because it was like one of those things where it like rocked my body so hard I couldn't skate anymore, but I wanted to skate. I had that like aggressive skater mentality of like, I gotta keep going. And I remember being in like so much physical pain that I was like, I just couldn't do it anymore. And I felt that kind of like a little bit of defeat that you feel, the same as like the day we went street skating, when you like don't land a trick at a spot, you feel a little bit defeated by it. And it was kind of that feeling a little bit too.
But you finished the whole race that year, right? I mean, the whole ride, or you finished most of it?
I kept going.
You kept going.
I took it off because of my back was so bad I couldn't.
Okay.
But I kept going, and there was another day where I did a half day. So it was like, I didn't do all of the miles on that first RAGBRAI, which, I think is common for a lot of people. And that's me referring to cyclists. And it's a little easier on a bike than it is on skates, obviously, because you're standing up and it's a full body workout.
Right. I feel like on a bike, 100 miles on a bike is like 40 miles on blades. The difficulty. Because you can ride on a bike for a long time. You're sitting there, you're riding. I mean, you might get sore, but it's a full body workout on blades. Yeah,
you're like everything on you. Your feet are supporting your entire body. Yeah. So like as you go, the fatigue builds and builds and builds and builds. Whereas on a bike, I feel like it's a little more it's a slower pace of the fatigue build.
So I used to, 2017, I did a lot of, distance skating in Austin.
Yeah.
Skate like, 3,000 miles or something throughout the year. And the longest skate I did ever was like 65 miles. I did maybe 30 miles sometimes every day, but that 65-mile skate kicked my ass. And I probably slept 24 hours afterwards. So you doing such long day, skates every day, I don't think I could ever do that. Maybe because I'm like old now, and decrepit from skating in life, but I was very impressed by your early ultra skating ventures. And then you took it to the next level. And you did the skate from San Diego, LA to San Diego, San Francisco to LA. Um, you did Athens to Atlanta, and then back to Athens. Or was it you did
It was,
Atlanta, Athens, back to Atlanta with Ben Price and Sam Fistel?
yeah, that was a wild. That whole story was crazy experience.
Who decided first of all to do the skate?
So I kept hearing about A to A, and I really wanted to do it. And then Ben had told me about Sam, who does A to A, which is Atlanta to Athens to Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the race is Athens to Atlanta. It's an 87-mile road race. So the whole thing is Sam would leave the night before, and he would skate Atlanta to Athens, have a break at the beginning of the race, and then turn around and he'd compete in the race. And I thought that was wicked cool. I'm like, that's a huge amount of mileage. If that guy's doing it, then he already has like the infrastructure and the ability to like do it. So if I can tag along, that would be a wicked experience. And Ben Price told me about it. So I was like, definitely, let's do it. So I was doing the math, and it's like 87 is 174 miles would be the total. So I thought, I'm not going to get that close to 200. I don't know when the next time I'll be that close to 200 is. Because like 200 miles it's a double century, and it's a kind of a crazy thing.
It is crazy.
Yeah. They have these things called, there's a metric century and then a regular century. A metric century is obviously 100 kilometers, which is like 60 miles. And then there's a standard century, which is 100 miles in a day. So obviously there's then the double century and the triple century. I don't know if anybody could do more than that. Maybe on a bike, you could do like a quadruple century, but that'd be crazy. But yeah, so I was like, I'm going to be close to 200. So my plan, I had been training for it, and Ben and Sam had set everything up, and I was supposed to meet them at 10 o'clock to start this venture to the beginning of the race. So I left the place I was staying at in downtown, or I was like right on the edge of downtown. I left at 5 p.m. and I did a marathon around Atlanta, which I had never really skated Atlanta before and didn't realize how hilly it was. So that was like, a pretty intense marathon to begin with. And then I ended up at that big mall there. What's that big food mall? The old market.
I have no idea.
It's this really cool one right on this bike trail. But went there, had some dinner, and then hopped on the trail and like started skating towards Athens. And it was like, I had planned for the mileage. I had like gotten food and everything, and I thought I was super prepared. And then I realized, like, as it was getting dark, I didn't have a headlight or anything. I just had like a light up wristband. And it like dawned on me that we are getting ready to skate like through the countryside of Georgia. And so I have a light up wristband. Ben Price has a camping headlamp that he like squeezed over his helmet.
Right.
And Sam has like a full flashlight headlamp mounted to his helmet. And we start this skate, and Sam Fistel has like a notebook with every single turn of the entire race. And it was really crazy because he was like a human GPS. We're like skating, and he's like, in 400 feet, we're going to take a left. And then we'd take a left, and he'd flip his notebook. And he like was really good about keeping track of our heart. Like he kept track of his heart rate, so he knew how much energy he was expending. So he kept us at like the right pace to skate throughout the night to get to the race with enough energy. So we're like, the first part, we're like leaving Atlanta, and then we're skating through suburbs, and then we like get into the countryside, And that's when it got really crazy, because we're just on a highway in the middle of the night in Georgia countryside, and it's like pitch black except for Sam's headlamp, and then Ben and I'm behind him, and we're doing like a pace line of 3 guys on the highway in the dark. And you can see the only thing you can see is that like the sky was less dark than the tree line. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like a black square tree line and then a less dark sky with stars, and you could see the highway. And it was a trip. We were going down massive hills in the dark, just like, you know, hoping I didn't hit a huge cracker, that we didn't like wipe out or and we made it. Sam led us all the way to the start. Had an hour. We sat there, ate some food, changed our socks. I did like a bathroom shower. And then
how do you feel at that point after doing you did 100 miles already, right? 100,
yeah,
over 100.
I arrived at the start of the race at 113 miles.
And how did you feel at that point?
I felt really good. I think I was hyped because when we got there was a bunch of skaters there. Everybody was like gearing up. They were all excited. So I like had this energy now of like, whoa, I'm now joining this actual cool event. Cool. It was like, it tricked my brain into being like, oh, we're restarting. This is cool. This is the start of the event. You know, the rollerblade team was there. A bunch of like awesome speed skaters were all there. And so they all like watched me show up and knew I'd kind of been building that one up on the internet. I connected it to a fundraiser, which was really cool. And so they all knew what was going on. So I showed up with 113 miles. And then the race started, which was really cool. It was like, you know, I don't remember if it was a gun or not, but the sound goes off and everybody started. And I was like, yeah, for like maybe a mile. And then I just lost it. It was like, oh wait, I'm already skated 100 miles. And so I had to like immediately, I had expended so much energy in that first sprint of like a mile going fast with everybody that it just like wrecked me. And so for the next, 86 miles, I just like skated long periods by myself. All the packs like pushed on ahead. The race is like in 3 segments. There's like a 49-mile race, a 31-mile race, and then the 87-mile race. So obviously racers finished at a point. So near the end, I was like by myself. And I remember there's 6 support stands along the race where they have like water and bananas. And then the last one, this lady had a bunch of candy. These 2 Canadian aggressive bladers were there, and they were competing in the 87-mile road race just to see if they could do it. It was like their first big distancing. And they like were at the stand, and I said, I'm going to lay down and take a 10-minute nap. And they're like, all right. And they took off and went down the road towards the finish. 10 minutes later, my phone goes off. I get up and I start skating, and I'm like miles down the road, and I passed them. And they were so mad. They weren't actually mad. They were like laughing, but they were also like, couldn't figure out how I just like kept going. But yeah, I crossed the finish line on 201 miles, right at Old Fourth Ward Skatepark in Atlanta. It was crazy.
That's amazing. That's amazing you did that. And you guys, did you skate the skate park at the end or what?
I don't remember. I don't think I did. I think my legs were so done. Ben Price dropped in. I know he skated the bowl for a minute, but I think I like talked to a couple people, and then I laid down on the sidewalk and I blacked out, and everybody was taking photos of me on the ground. People were like standing above me taking photos because I was just dead. I was asleep. I was so tired.
So is that still to this day the longest distance skate you've done?
Yep, that's my personal record, 201 miles. I keep thinking like when and where I'd be able to beat that, and I don't know.
Do you want to beat it, or are you happy with it?
I mean, I'm really happy with it. The further I go, all the miles I skate, like I just become really happy with just any miles. I'm really, I think that's one thing that's changed over the course since I've met you and been skating these distance miles the last 5 years is like, I started out with that aggressive mentality of like, I want to get the huge mileage. I want to go real fast. Like I want to complete the things. And now all of that's sort of been melting away as I've been skating. And now it's like, this is what I want. I want to be on the road, like 1 mile to me is as grand as 200 miles. Does that make
Right.
sense?
You just want to be skating.
Yeah, I just want to be skating.
This year, you've been doing a lot of ultra skates. And what was your goal for this year? What's the skates you've done? And do you have any left?
Yes. So this year, my big thing is called the Midwest Ultra Series. It kind of started out as having a conversation. I was having a conversation with someone about where I lived, Iowa in the Midwest. And the conversation, was kind of like, oh, have you ever thought about living in California or somewhere where it's warm where you can skate year round? And I said, oh, I really love the Midwest. I think having the 4 seasons and having just the Midwest is kind of a different place than the coasts, the Gulf, East Coast, West Coast. Like it's its own place, and I really love it. So I wanted to showcase the Midwest. So I designed a series of ultras. The concept is I leave from my house, I gear up, I leave, I walk out of my front door, and I skate to all the major downtowns in the Midwest. So it's kind of like if you look at Iowa, I've been going in a clockwise map. So I skated from my house to Kansas City in March, 240 miles. And then I did Omaha in May, I think, which was 172 miles. That one was a 3-day skate. Really wicked awesome. I had another skater, Alex O'Brien. You know Alex O'Brien?
Yeah, I do. He lives in Nebraska. He's cool.
Yeah.
I stayed with him before I stayed in Des Moines.
Yeah.
He's a cool guy. And he wasn't big wheel blading back then either. When I was there, I don't believe.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think he was kind of like, a lot of the homies had picked up big wheel blades here and there, but it was like without having like an organized skate or like sessions or anything like that, it's harder to get into it. It's almost like, it feels like, from my perspective, sometimes it's almost like a piece of exercise equipment. People get them and they put them in the corner of the room and they think all big wheel blade. But if they're aggressive guys, they're always going to be aggressive skating. And like maybe at the session where everybody puts on big wheels, they'll big wheel a little bit. Right. But like people a little bit longer to like get into the whole of like, you could be big wheel blading all the time and it's going to translate. It's going to make your aggressive skating better. It's going to make you stronger, like help with your endurance.
Well, there's different levels of big wheel blading. The big wheel blading you're doing distance skating. There's recreational, but there's a lot of guys, like Psychoburn and stuff that are doing more urban tricks. Like urban big wheel aggressive type of skating. Not grinding, but rolls and playing with the urban landscape.
Yeah, that too. I totally forget about that, but like. Yeah, that's a thing too that I think would help a lot of aggressive skaters. It's like it's really fun because you're just going faster and you can just do easier. Like the name big wheel blading is very self-explanatory. Like you can go bigger. You know what I mean? Exactly.
You can roll things that you couldn't do on small skates. Buildings. Like transitions of buildings and whatever. I feel like there's a lot more options, and you look at spots differently, and you can and you can cross that over to your aggressive skating. A lot of skaters I talk to, it's really changed when they go on the big wheels. It's changed their perspective of what they can do in aggressive skates.
Oh, definitely.
So back to the ultra in the Midwest. What you also did? What, Minneapolis?
So yeah, I just did Minneapolis like a week and a half ago. I had 2 other ultras in between there. I had RAGBRAI again, obviously, because that's become a yearly thing. And I did an event in Georgia I've been trying to do for a couple of years called Bragg, which is bicycle ride across Georgia. That one's a really awesome one. I talked to you about that a little bit, but man, I got to tell you the story of that one because it was wicked crazy. It was crazy. But yeah, so I just did the Minneapolis Ultra Skate, which was 270 miles. That one was really nice. The first day I did a century. I wanted to do a century on this one. So I thought, I'm going to do it the first day, get out of the way. The first 40 miles out of Des Moines were all trails. So that made the 40 miles go by easier. But then the next 60 were highway, and it was not a single cloud in the sky. So the sun was just cooking me. So it was I kept coming up to like farms, and I'd like stand behind a barn and just stand in the shade and drink water for like 15 minutes. And it felt like I was bacon stepping off of a griddle. And I'd like wait till I stopped sizzling before I got back on the road again. But that skate was wicked. As soon as I crossed from Iowa into Minnesota, the roads were like, Iowa has nice roads, but for some reason the counties I skated through in Minnesota were like incredible, super nice paved roads. Traffic, I was on back highways and the traffic was so mild. I like rarely had to deal with traffic. Everybody I ran into in Minnesota was super friendly. Minnesota has this Minnesota nice slogan, you know, that's like their saying is Minnesota nice. It's definitely true. Yeah, I just like met a lot of really cool people. And then up in Minneapolis, I did Camp SkateIA, which is like an organization I've been working with for the last couple of years.
With Camp SkateIA, that's the first one you've attended, or did you go to one last year?
That's the first one in person I've attended. Last year they did a virtual camp, like a really interesting. It was just a lot of skaters on Zoom. Some of them had cleared areas where they did like dance instruction, slalom instruction, stuff like that. I got to get on and just sort of talk about ultra skating for a little bit, which was really cool. So it was a little bit different feel, but this year was cool. It was a smaller group. There was about 20 of us, but it was really great. There was 5 instructors. I got to give a sort of like a keynote speech on ultra skating, and then I did a class. We were on this oval, so it's the largest ice sheet in the largest ice sheet in the United States. So like it's this huge concrete oval that they freeze over in the winter or whatever. But it was super smooth. There was like a little skate park out in the middle of it, like a little metal snap together park. But yeah, we just like skated around. They did a skate park certification, which is what I really wanted to do. SkateIA is a Skate Instructors Association, which is basically they're teaching skaters how to teach. So it's not as much about like skill. It's about breaking down like the entry level stuff in the skating, breaking down like the basic functions of skating and how to teach them to someone that's new to skating. So they kind of developed a curriculum around skate park skating, where it's like breaking down the basics to like dropping in, grinding, airing, that kind of stuff. So it's really they lay out a curriculum for you to follow, so you can kind of take it and become an instructor and teach. So I'm slowly shifting towards becoming a teacher, being able to use that to supplement some of my ultras. So
have you been giving lessons?
I've been giving here and there lessons. Last summer, I've only been certified as a recreational instructor. So I've only just been giving like regular, trail skating kind of lessons, and only a few here and there. With the pandemic, it was like kind of crazy, and I was a little nervous to kind of jump off and start the whole classes and all that stuff. But now with the skate park, Des Moines just built this incredible skate park. Got the skate park certification. I'm like ready to go. And what's really cool is one of the other members of Skate Instructors Association built like the whole infrastructure for designing your class. And she like sent it to everybody. So I can just take it, sort of, it's a Google form kind of thing. And you can sort of change it up to how you want to teach and the things you want to teach. And it like really simplified everything. So I'm like getting ready to kick that off.
Well, that sounds perfect. So how did you find out about SkateIA to begin with, and what made you decide you wanted to be a part of it?
Sonic, I think, was the reason. Sonic Arnav Shaw is a speed skater, slalom skater in the skating world. He's a New York guy. He runs a Kinetic Expression skate shop based out of Queens in New York. I met him at the A that I skated. And then he was already a certified instructor through SkateIA, and he kept, kind of kept telling me about it. And then they were getting a cert. They were doing the level 1 instructor cert in Atlanta, and Roll ATL was hosting that. And I had already kind of gotten connected with Roll ATL through the A skate. So, yeah, I don't really, I just thought it was really cool. He told me about it. He told me their mission of like, trying to create more teachers. And obviously I've been skating long enough, like you start to realize like I'm not going to be able to skate forever. And to keep this culture alive, like we need new skaters. So it's like,
Sure.
we're the teachers now. And it's like, it's our turn to teach. And so I just thought it was a cool idea.
Didn't you have a job doing delivery on skates before?
Yeah, that was during that whole time period. That was a crazy, I left Des Moines to go to St. Louis in Chicago. I was kind of moving back and forth between St. Louis and Chicago because I was traveling for so many events that I just like was crashing on people's couches, and I didn't really have a house for like a year and a half. So yeah, I was doing food delivery in Chicago and St. Louis, and that was really crazy. I don't know how else to describe it. I had this huge styrofoam backpack that was red in like a square, and I would just like, in Chicago, I worked for a couple different apps that were really cool. And then in St. Louis, I got hired through a bike courier company, which is really cool because I only had to stay in like a 2-mile radius of downtown St. Louis. So I never had to go more than 2 miles per delivery. So it was like a game where I'd be like chilling downtown, get a food order, I'd go pick it up, go deliver it. There's like 2.5 miles. So I'd say, how many miles can I skate today? And like, man, get enough orders, I'd be doing like 30, 40-mile days. So it was like cool because I was like kind of getting paid to skate.
How do people react to you bringing their food on skates?
They loved it. Everybody loved it. It was pre-pandemic when people were still like, hadn't seen skating in a long time. And when they see someone show up on skates that's not like totally falling over, they're like, whoa. I'd roll into like a high rise in downtown St. Louis and take the elevator up to the 7th floor and be like, here's your food. I'd skate into the office, into the desk, and be like, it was a lot of fun. People loved it. And it was, the St. Louis one was fun because I kind of developed like a repertoire with like some of the different people that ran the buildings downtown, because I was delivering to the same offices all the time. And like, I'd see the same people. And it was like, I was just like this quirky St. Louis character for a minute.
That's rad. Going back to like A to A and races on skates, have you done any like actual marathons?
I did the Duluth Marathon the last time they had it 2 years ago.
And how was that compared to, the ultra marathons?
Marathon racing is definitely like a really interesting sport. It's definitely its own type of skating. You're in the pace lines, so you have to learn to skate with others in like super tight quarters. And then it's like kind of a game of like, when they do these pace lines, these guys they're pushing you, and they're trying to get you out into the front so they can wear you down. So that way, eventually the pace line will just leave you behind. So like all of that stuff was new to me when I was first doing the race. So I'm like in this pace line, and then I like jump out of the pace line, and then I jump back in it. And people are getting super pissed. Stay where you're at, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it's confusing to me. I watch it. I don't know anything about the pace lines. I skated one half marathon right after I broke my back in Montreal. And that's it. Since COVID, I haven't gone to any. I wanted to do, North Shore in Berlin, but so as far as speed skating goes, in Des Moines, you have Dante Muse, who, legendary speed skater, won world championships on quads, then on inline skates, the whole family skates. He has the Skate East, is that right? His roller rink?
Skateland.
Is he still involved?
Yeah. So there's three brothers, 3 Muse brothers. They're all incredible skaters that have all won, tons of races and world champions and stuff. Dante, is one of the more well-known brothers. They all 3 owned rinks. Dante owns Skateland, which has got a little skate park inside of it. He's a wicked cool guy. His family's wicked cool. Like his wife Romina is also, world-renowned speed skater. She's actually been helping me out with my double push a little bit, which about the double push probably.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask if Dante has been giving you any tips, but it's his wife.
Yeah, Dante's one of those skaters where he's like, headstrong. He goes into it and he can do it really well, but I don't think he can break it down as easily. And his wife is a technical skater, so she was kind of, Bambi and I go to the adult skates, and it's like at the adult skates is really cool because we just get to skate with them and enjoy it. And I say, hey, can you show me this? And it's not, you know, it's not the same as growing up in the speed skating world where I'd go to like an intense speed skating lesson and it'd be drills and practices. It's kind of like, I've been skating for a long time and I'm curious about this move. Can you show it to me? And so she's been helping me a little bit, which is cool.
So maybe you could explain what the double push is for people who don't know.
Double push is when your legs are under compression, and as you're falling away from your skates, your legs are under compression. They're bent like if you were getting ready to jump. That generates force. So if you think about when you're normally skating, you're just pushing this leg out, bringing it back, and then you're pushing this leg out, and then you're bringing it back. So that's kind of one push. You can only get so much power out of that. But if you think about it like this, when you push this skate out, and then as you bring it back in and you're getting ready to push this skate out, if you let your body weight fall over your skate, it's going to be generating force. So you're kind of pushing like this. So now both of your skates are doing a push. So you're going twice as fast with less energy consumption. So it's like if you're a marathon racer, like you have to be able to double push. If you were like in a, you know, before I learned to double push when I was an aggressive guy, I was just single leg pushing, and it's like you can have strong legs, you can push as hard as you want, but like you're never going to go as fast as those guys that are getting 2 pushes for every stride. Like they're generating twice as much energy with every single push that they do. So that's been a really awesome learning journey for me. You know, growing up aggressive skating, you know, I remember learning tricks, learning spins, learning grabs, learning grinds. And it's like things you practice and things you had to learn. And I feel like at a certain point, you're not learning so much as you are mixing. You're mixing your tricks around and you're sort of combining them. And it's like you lose that same endeavor of like, I'm trying to learn this thing. And so with the double push, I was like, I can't do this. I need to learn it. So it's like practicing, watching videos, skating with people, asking people questions. And it became very much like I'm a student in skating again, and I'm trying to learn this thing. And it was the day where I finally was like, okay, I think I'm doing this, felt so awesome. And now I've like got this double push. You know, it's not as streamlined as these lifelong speed skaters, but I'm double pushing down a highway going 30 miles an hour, and like it feels awesome. It feels incredible. It's like, you know, it's just a cool feeling. It's like you're flying.
So one thing I noticed, you know, when I first started big wheel blading, I mean, I started out recreationally skating or, you know, urban skating because I started skating before aggressive inline was a thing. So, you know, I have a background in it, but, you know, after years of aggressive, I realized that most aggressive skaters can't actually skate. I mean, they can do tricks, you know, they approach a rail, you know, they can do whatever, but they're not skating. You know, people drive from spot to spot. You're not really skating a lot. Yeah. So a lot of people can't actually do the skating that slalom skaters, you know, the control of the skate itself, you know, which I didn't really realize, you know, in 20 years of aggressive skating, how different it is.
I had that same epiphany. I hadn't realized that. And then when I got into the big wheel blading, it was like, whoa, like the actual art form of rollerblading is like a little bit more and a little bit different than what I thought it was. It's not so much like,
yeah, you know, I think that's why, you know, the guys going to big wheel blading, it's making them a better aggressive skater.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, absolutely. And back to Dante Muse, you know, he was a lifelong speed skater, but then later in life, he started aggressive skating.
Yeah.
So he was kind of an early crossover guy.
Yeah. So I'm 31 right now. Dante did not start aggressive skating till he was 31. When I met Dante, you know, I must have been like 15 or 16 when I met Dante. We were street skating and he was like doing true Mizus down like 15 stair handrails, you know, doing like big skating tricks. And I had never even realized this guy's already like 37, 38 years old. Like, you know, he didn't start aggressive skating until he was 31. And it's like, that blew my mind. And he's 50, in his 50s, and he's an incredible skater. Like super. His whole family is super talented. He's got 2 daughters. One of them is 13, I think. The other one she's got to be maybe only 5, and he's bringing them to the new skate park, and they're all on quads, and they're just ripping it. I mean, airing out of the bowl is just like the little 5-year-olds dropping in on this big 10-foot rolling, like ripping it. So I have no doubt that like they're going to be incredible skaters. Like, geez.
Yeah, I mean, he has that little skate park, in the roller rink, which was really fun when I was there. So it's back to aggressive skating. How much are you aggressive skating now?
You know what? From the point that I started distance skating with you, my aggressive skating started to taper down and down and down. The last 3 years was probably almost the least amount of aggressive skating I'd ever done. I didn't really have skates that I liked the whole time. I was struggling to find a good aggressive setup. And I was just dedicating all my time to distance and ultra. And then in March, they opened this new skate park in downtown Des Moines, and it's like, they're calling it the largest outdoor skate park in the US. It's pretty huge. It's incredibly built. It's very nice, smooth ramps. As soon as I started skating that park, I've like been going every single day. I've been using that as like my training for my ultra skating, which is funny because I like felt like I took long enough of a break from it that I'm like, whoa, I love this again. Like really enjoying it.
And how did your skills come back? What did you feel like you lost some tricks or?
Like I lost anything. There was like a day and a half of like, it's been a while since I did a really fast grind down a big thing. And then, doing it a couple times, I was like, oh, it's still exactly what it was. And I have all the body mechanics and like body awareness because I've just been skating the whole time. So it's like.
So what aggressive skates are you on right now?
I'm on a monster mashup of some old New Jacks with some FR parts and some Wish frames. They're kind of crazy looking.
Oh wow.
They're very right now. I like this FR liner, and then my frames are finally breaking in really nicely.
So I see you're wearing an FR shirt. Are you sponsored by FR now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sponsored. I guess sponsored would be the word.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah.
It doesn't look like they sent you any aggressive skates though.
They're getting ready to release some.
Okay.
Don't quote me on this, but I'm thinking like in the next 6 to 8 weeks.
Oh, awesome.
A couple pictures. They look really cool. I'm very excited about them.
So tell me, first of all, what skates did you get from FR? And then how did you end up on the team? You were skating for Rollerblade for a while and now you're in FR. So what happened?
Over the last couple of years, I've kind of had people saying like hinting towards FR, kind of pushing me towards FR. I was riding for Rollerblade, and then I think I just was kind of moving in a different direction. So I decided to sort of step away from Rollerblade. And then honestly, I was like, I don't really want to like try to do the sponsor stuff for a little while. Like I like finally felt like I was getting to a place where I just wanted to skate, and I was skating and I was really loving skating. So I was just like not worried about it. And then Cletus from Wish kind of said like, oh, maybe you should talk to FR. Those guys seem really cool. They might be into what you're doing. And I said, yeah, that'd be cool. I'll talk to them. And then I didn't say anything. I kind of let some time pass. And then Sonic, who runs his skate shop in New York, he kind of works with FR. He said, yeah, I think they might be a good fit for you. The company's really cool. I think the skate would work well with your foot, because me and him have kind of spent a lot of time skating together, and he's done RAGBRAI with me twice. And, we get into the nitty gritty of talking about our feet and this, specifics of skates and everything. Cause that's something I think as an aggressive skater for a long time, it was like the aesthetics of your skate were important. How cool you made your skates look, versus like functionality. And now as like an ultra skater and distance skater, functionality is like a huge part of it. So it's like me and him talk about everything, minute details about skates, because we both want obviously the most comfortable skate. I'm going on a tangent here. But yeah, so he kind of recommended me towards FR. FR works with SkateIA as well as, so does Rollerblade. They're both part of that kind of family. So it was kind of just a lot of people naturally pushing me to them. And I kind of put together a little resume of all my skating, my ultras and my aggressive stuff, and my plans for what I wanted to do, the Midwest Ultra Series. And they thought it was a cool idea, and they asked if I wanted to try a pair of skates, and I said yeah, and they sent me the FR SL Speed Boot, which is super sick. This one has the integrated Intuition liner.
Oh, beautiful. Those are beautiful skates.
Yeah, they're super beautiful. What was crazy is that they sent me to them. I got them 2 days before Bragg. So I got them, got on the flight, flew to Atlanta, had a day to skate them, which was funny. I got my big wheel blading hat and I customized my big wheel blading hat. I embroidered all that stuff. I spent 5 hours embroidering that hat. I did my warm-up skate in Atlanta. I was like, I want to warm up for this bicycle ride event. Because you got to I've learned that I got to build up if I'm going to do a bunch of back-to-back days. You don't want to go into it with just cold legs. So I'll do a small 15 or 20 mile skate the day before or 2 days before I'm going to do a big event. So I was I'm going to do this 15-mile skate around Atlanta. And I did it. And I had all my gear. I had set up everything so it was a mock run because I'm carrying my gear and my hat's clipped in my bag. And it came unclipped on the trail. And I got all the way back to Roll ATL and it was unclipped. So I turned around and as fast as I could, skated the whole 15 miles back again. So I ended up doing this crazy fast 30-mile skate and I couldn't find my hat. And I was so sad. I haven't told you yet that I lost my hat.
No, that's a bummer.
I was really bummed. And I told the skaters there, I was like, you guys got to look for my hat. It's the only hat like that.
Well, we have to get you a new one.
Yeah.
So the Bragg race, or is that it's a ride or a race?
It's a ride.
It's a ride. It's just like RAGBRAI.
Yep.
So earlier you mentioned it was crazy, and you want to tell us about it?
Yes.
Let's hear the story.
So Bragg, bicycle ride across Georgia, originated. There was a woman from Georgia who did RAGBRAI in Iowa. She thought it was awesome, so she came back to Georgia and sort of got that whole event going. I want to say over 20 years ago, quite a long time ago, maybe 30 years ago. I'd have to check the numbers on that. Anyways, bicycle ride across Georgia. The route kind of changes every year, just like RAGBRAI. It's a 7-day ride across the state. So I signed up to do that race. It started in the very top of Georgia on Lookout Mountain. So going into the race or going into the ride, the weather forecast was thunderstorms every day, all 7 days. And Bambi was like, are you sure you still want to do this ride? And I was like, yeah, I'm signed up. I'm committed to this. I don't want to, what happens if it doesn't rain? Then I've skipped it and then it didn't rain and I miss out on it. So I showed up and great weather the day I'm there, the day in Atlanta and the day before the event, great weather. Then I take a bus to Chattanooga, Tennessee, and then catch a ride from someone at the hostel I stayed at to the top of this mountain, Lookout Mountain. And it was incredible. It was incredible, beautiful views on top of this mountain. Looking over, we could see you could see so far across Georgia, and apparently you could see other states. I can't remember what the other states bordering it were, but it was these incredible views. And then obviously we're camping, and then it started raining that first night, and then it basically didn't stop raining for 7 days. And the whole event was 340 miles, and it just thunderstormed every single day during the night. By the third or fourth day, all my gear was soaked, everything was soaked. But it was cool because it was there was 1,000 cyclists, and I was obviously the only rollerblader, and they thought I was crazy. But I got to talk to basically everybody on that ride. It was open highway, so there was still traffic, so that was kind of crazy. But it was basically there's a fly in here now. it was basically like each day was like 60 to 70 miles. There was a couple of short days and one century day, but there was support vehicles along the route. So they'd have like 3 snack stands. And what was different about RAGBRAI is that it was a much smaller event. There's 1,000 riders, and you register, and with registration, you get access to the snack support vehicles. So when you'd show up to the support vehicle, it was like water. They had like big coolers of like Powerade mix, and then they had Rice Krispie treats, granola bars, cookies, bananas, watermelons, olives, pickles, like peanut butter jelly sandwiches, chips, like candy, all this great stuff. And you would just eat as much as you could. And then you get to the next, you skate 20 miles and get to the next one, and it's the same thing. So it was like really wicked cool because I got a lot of free food. And then it was like beautiful Georgia countryside. Like it rained. So basically it would be raining, and then it would stop raining, and it would get super sunny and hot. And then it'd be like the road would be steaming, but everything was super lush and green. And then it'd start storming again. So it was like really intense skating because it was raining and the roads were wet. So I'm like constantly skating in water. My skates were completely like sogged. As I'm striding, my skates are like bubbling. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It was
Do you have any falls?
So I had one fall. So the first day we start on the mountain. It is there was a 1,200 foot descent all at once. So we're riding, and it's like 20 miles into the ride is when we descend this part of the mountain. And I get to the top of the mountain, and I know it's coming up. I have footage of it. I'll have to send you the footage. I turn my helmet camera on, and I start going down this hill, and it's raining. It's like raining pretty intensely. And I start going down this hill, and it's like, I start to pass cyclists. I'm like building up so much speed that I'm like flying past the cyclists. And then there's traffic. So now I'm like having to get into the oncoming lane and pass this traffic. And then it got to the point where I was going so fast and the ground was soaking wet. Like, you know, the road was so slick that I couldn't do anything. I was like, I can't even slow down. I just have to like hold this and ride this out. And there's like a point where there was a car coming this way and a car coming this way. And I had to like step into the middle and cut traffic like through these people. It was super crazy. I ended up going 58.1 miles an hour down this mountain. I clocked it with my watch, and it was insane. And then later that day, there was one more steep, super steep, like downhill curve. It was like a hairpin curve. And everybody kind of said like, oh, this curve's coming up today. Be ready for it. Be ready for it. And I was with a group of cyclists at this point. And as I was coming down the hill, I was ahead of them, and I realized this is the one they're talking about. So I turned my head and I started to yell, hey, this is the curve. And it, like the motion of turning my head kind of started to pull my body to the right. And as I realized that, I like turned and looked forward. And I was going so fast that I couldn't like jerk react. So I rolled off the road, and I'm now in the ditch rolling like 25, 30 miles an hour through all the brush and stuff. And I like had a split second, and I thought, do I jump back onto the road? And it's like a 4-inch, like the asphalt is like a 4-inch upstep to get back on the asphalt. And I was like, if I clip that and I like hit the cement, I'm going to be wrecked. And so I just like slowly sat back, and then like was sliding on my back and legs through all this like mud and vines and Georgia ditch crap. And it was just like, didn't end up being a bad fall, but I was just like, my back was scratched up a little bit and, you know, muddy, but no super bad falls.
Oh, good. You got lucky.
Yeah, got lucky for sure. There ended up being a cyclist on the big hill, the 1,200 foot descent hill. A cyclist went down really bad. He broke his jaw. He broke like 3 ribs. I think his collar. Yeah, ended the ride for him for sure. But yeah, it was crazy. The thunderstorming was crazy. We had, I think it was the second night, a storm came right through the field we were staying in and just like wrecked people's tents. Next morning, like I think we had a large number, at least 50 people or more, just like packed it up and went home. They're like, we can't do this anymore. All of our stuff is soaked. And it was like, that's where I was at. All my stuff was soaked, but I didn't have the option to go home. I couldn't just like call Uber and go home. You know what I mean? I had to keep going.
Right. That's crazy. Well, you're really good at being a completist, which I like doing the same thing. If I'm going to start something, I'll finish it.
Yeah.
I don't set my goals to do those 430-mile races though, or rides. Um, what's your what's of all the skates you've done, the ultra skates?
Yeah.
What's your favorite one?
Highway 1 was pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie. I've had moments on every ultra that were like incredible. I've learned that no matter the place, there's going to be something there that makes it like beautiful and have this like incredible quality to it. But Highway 1 I think was the most impactful because I it was 10 days. It was 8 days of skating down Highway 1, and it was like I just like feel like for 8 days I had the ocean right here on my right side, and then this like inland green on my left, and it was like those two colors so magnificently for 8 days of just like hours and hours of skating, and I was carrying all my gear on my back, so it was like I had everything, so I could feel everything more. So it was like, I mean, like going through like Big Sur was incredible. It was crazy. It was like breathtaking, like physically and mentally. Like you'd get to the top of some of those peaks and look out over the ocean, and it was like constantly made me feel small all the time, every day. I'd get like, you get into a skate and I'd get like charged up, and I've been thinking, heck yeah, I'm doing this. Like I'm ultra skating right now. This is badass. Like I'm gonna skate 70 miles today. This is so sick. And then I like look at the ocean and I'm just like, this doesn't even matter at all. Like this doesn't matter at all. And it was like, it was really funny the way that kept happening, because it was like, I don't know, I'd look at the ocean and I'd be like, dude, what the heck? I guess people that live out there, they go to the ocean every day. I'm from the Midwest, so it's a little different for me, but like 8 entire days of like all day long looking at that ocean was so crazy for me. So that ultra skate, it was 550 miles. That one ended up being pretty wicked awesome.
I mean, that's a beautiful road. I've driven down it a few times when I lived in California. For those who don't know, Highway 1, it's San Francisco to like Los Angeles
Yep.
along the coast of California. And it's not a very populated area, so it's not that busy on the beaches, but there's a lot of cars because it's a lot of tourists and traffic going down that road. Um, and that ride was documented by Bruce Bales in the
Yeah.
Ultra video you guys put out,
Yeah.
and that one was submitted to some film festivals. You got some recognition for it. Tell me
Yeah.
about that video. How you and Bruce got together to make it, and the kind of the reception it's received.
Yeah. So originally it kind of started as like I had been doing ultra skates. I hadn't been calling them ultra skates. I was just calling them like distance skates and all kinds of stuff. But I had finally said, like, I think ultra is the word that I'm really feeling, matches the feeling of this kind of skating. It's very much like ultra running. It's this, long distance, long hours. Like I use the word suffering a lot, but suffering in a good way. But it's ultra is the word that I felt fit it. So I was talking to Bruce, and he was going to be out in San Francisco during the same time frame that I was going out there to do this ultra skate. So it lined up. So I said, like, hey, do you want to help me? The original goal was I just want to introduce ultra skating to whoever's interested. I just want to do like a little intro video. This is what ultra skating is to me. And so I was sponsored by Rollerblade at the time, and they kind of put together, an idea to help me with it. And they helped get Bruce together on that project. And so they actually Bruce and them filmed me for the first 3 days. They kind of jumped along and followed me for spots for the first 3 days, and they made it out to Big Sur and filmed some stuff. And then the next 7 days I was by myself. So it was all with my GoPro and my 360. I like filmed solo video. And then a filmer who works with Bruce, that's also from Iowa, that lives in LA, came out to the end to film the ending of that. So the whole thing started as just the idea of introducing ultra skating, and it kind of turned into this, super short, beautiful micro look into what ultra skating is, especially through my lens, which is like, sort of what we've been talking about, these extreme, beautiful experiences that like do push you to your limits, but like always in such constructive ways. So it's like, yeah, we filmed that documentary. It's like 15 minutes long, and it just sort of shows what the ultra skate was like. And I sort of talk a little bit about what it's like. Yeah.
And then it was entered into some film festivals.
Yeah. So it was entered in quite a few film festivals, which it's done really well. It's won several awards, which has been really cool.
That's amazing.
Bruce has hit me up, a couple different times and said, "Hey, we won this festival. Here's $100 or here's $200." And it's been like, that's pretty cool, because I've never had that happen. And I've been skating with Bruce all of my skating career, pretty much from the age of 16. I became friends with Bruce, and like, he's filmed almost everything of mine, all of my sections, any rollerblade stuff that I've done, he's filmed. And I worked with him for a while with his videography company, filming weddings, music videos, stuff like that. So yeah, having Bruce do that project was awesome, because he already knows me, and he could film. He's already learned how to film me in a way that's like more personal than I think if any other filmer just jumped on to film me,
Right.
Kind of anticipate who I am as a person and read me as a person better. So that was really cool, and I was really grateful to have that. And it was, we've been skating buddies forever, so like to have him come out there and be a part of that trip was like wicked awesome. I had another homie from here, Spencer Smith. He's an aggressive blader from Des Moines too. He came out for that because he's a big San Francisco dude. He loves going out to San Francisco, so he came out and helped too. So yeah.
Any plans for follow-up?
When is this going to be released?
Sometime soon.
Sometime soon. All right. So secretly, I'm planning to do the rest of the West Coast. I'm not going to say when.
Okay.
But sometime soon.
Awesome. That's gonna be rad. When do you, with all these, go ahead. You're gonna say something?
Oh, I was just gonna say, I'm really excited for that. I've done the two big portions, the San Francisco to LA and LA to San Diego. So I kind of just want to do the rest of that so I can say, hey, I've skated the entire West Coast. That'd be pretty cool.
On that trip, you had all your gear with you and you camped along the way. Is that what you've been doing on these Midwest skates, or have you had a follow van vehicle?
So what's been really cool on the Midwest one, I've been using this one as sort of, obviously I'm always learning. I'm trying to sort of, I don't want to say pave the way. I'm trying to form this new discipline, this new community of ultra skating. So it's like, part of that is I'm always learning, and I'm always trying to figure out, how can I do this better? How can I make this part more enjoyable and more sufferable? So it's like this Midwest Ultra Series, it's close enough to home that I've had a little bit of playroom with it. I've been designing my routes, and basically I pick camping spots all along the route. And then my partner, Bambi, she works remote for a skate company, which is really cool. So she gets to stay involved with my projects. I stay involved with her projects. And so on this series particularly, I've been carrying sort of the day gear that I need to make it. So during the day, I'm completely unsupported. I'll do my skate. Like, I'll leave in the morning and I'll get to the campsite, and then she'll drive to the campsite and meet me there. And then we camp out. We have our dog, and it's like, it's enjoyable because, each month we sort of get a little micro camping trip, and we both really enjoy camping. So it definitely makes it easier. Obviously I could carry my backpack with my tent, but it's like, part of the Midwest Ultra Series is I want to really do a better job of showcasing it when I skate. And it's like, when you're carrying all the extra weight, it's like so much more physically and mentally demanding that it's like harder to stay. It's harder to have the bandwidth to do more, especially like social media and everything. It's like social media itself, doing all this stuff, taking photos, uploading it online, is a lot of energy and effort. And so when you're out there and you're skating 100 miles in the hot heat, it's like you're doing extreme physical work, and that takes a mental concentration to do it. But then the whole time you're also trying to like I like to keep people updated. I have a lot of fun with it now. Like I've trained my body up to the point, I've gotten endurance to the point now where I'm having a lot of fun with it. I love trying to capture, I like to do my stories on Instagram and Facebook where I try to capture like live, this is what's happening right now. I'm pulling into this town right now. I was just there 10 minutes ago kind of feeling, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So, once a month, people can kind of tune in and follow the daily posts and stories and see like, whoa, this is happening right now. And what's been cool, part of my goal with this was to start to get people to join. So I got Alex to join me on the Omaha one. I had a coworker join me for a day of the Minneapolis skate, which was really cool because he's a young, I think dude's 20. During the pandemic, he kept hitting me up saying, hey man, I want to try skating. I want to try skating. He's a chef that I work with at the restaurant I work with here in town. He just kept hitting me up, say, man, I want to get skates. I want to try skating. Help me out. And it was when you like couldn't get skates anywhere. Everywhere was sold out. Everybody was, on skates. So it was like hard to find skates. So I hooked him up with a pair of my skates. And he just started skating around doing 5 miles here, 10 miles there. And he kept bugging me about ultra skating. He kept saying, man, I want to do an ultra with you. And I kept saying like, you get, build up to it. Maybe like it's a little bit, different than just skating around town. And what was funny is he kept asking me about this Minneapolis one. And I said like, I'll let you know. And then the fourth day or the third day, I wake up at camp and I'm like packing my gear up and I get a text from him that says, I'm 15 minutes away from the town you're in. Like, I'm here, where you at? So it's like, he got up at 6 a.m. He drove, met me at the campsite and he skated 56 miles with me. So it was kind of like when me and you skated that 33 miles.
Mm-hmm.
He like had never done more than 10 miles and it was new for him. But he's like, an athletic guy. He works out, like does running. So it was really cool. I took him on the skate and it was awesome. We like got out of town and we get onto our first highway and it's just like, we're out there and he's kind of like, okay, so this is it. It's like beautiful blue sky. The cornfields are kind of green and golden, like, waving in the wind and the highway's just open in front of us. And he's like, I get this feeling. And it was really cool to like have him be so new to skating and new to all of this to like step onto the road, as I would call it, and say like, whoa, I get this feeling right away. I can kind of understand this. So we did 56 miles that day and that was awesome. Hilariously, 36 miles into the skate, we're like going up this hill and he yells ahead. He's, Caleb, hey man, like I need your help. And I like turn around and skate back to him and he's like, hey dude, is this normal? He like points down to his knee and that, what's the big muscle right on the inside of your knee?
Yeah, I don't know the name of it.
I'm no good with knowing all the muscle names. One of your main pushing muscles, I don't think he'd been used to like the striding. I mean, you're striding thousands and thousands of times when you're doing that many miles. And his muscle had cramped up and sort of twisted and it was sticking out of his leg all cramped and twisted. I'd never seen anything like it. And oh my God, dude. And we like pulled over and he had to roll it out with a water bottle and we sat there for like 15 minutes. And then it was like the next 20 miles was just like 5-mile segments, slow, like his leg kept cramping up. Then his other leg started cramping up and it was hilarious. The last few miles into town, I ended up kind of just pushing him.
Oh, poor guy.
No, he really enjoyed it. It didn't wreck his body to the point where he was like, that sucked. He really got the enjoyable experience. There was Minnesota known for its lakes, and we skated past a ton of like really beautiful lakes. Like it was just a beautiful day of skating. We had a wind at our back all day. Like couldn't ask for a better day of ultra skating for his like first time ever. So, but yeah, that's been part of the whole Midwest Ultra series is like, I'm showcasing the Midwest, but I also want to show people like, this is just skating. Like I'm skating and I want you to come skate with me, or I want you to skate where you're at and find your ultras. Cause I want to come do those ultras, I can now city, skate to Omaha, skate to Minneapolis. I have those routes. I could take someone skating on those if I wanted. And it's like, I'm looking forward to where meeting other skaters and they say, I got this awesome ultra I'm going to do. Come do this with me. And that's slowly happening. But like, that's my goal. And I'm really excited for it.
I mean, definitely a small niche group of skaters. Have you met some other skaters doing long distance skates around the country or the world?
So I keep running into people that are doing like sort of one-off trips or one big trip and then not really doing any long distance skating anymore. There's a guy named Mike from Denver that did the Skate Across America, and he raised funds for school lunches, and he raised like absurd amount, like 20 or 30 grand, something like that. He was a hockey player that just kind of decided he was going to do that, and he skated across America. And that dude, like, me and him have become friends, and we talk all the time, and he loves, like, you know, staying up on my ultra skates. But he doesn't do as much ultra skating, and there's people like that I keep running into that I'm like, maybe they'll start doing more of them with me, but it's kind of like one here or there.
Right.
There's a guy that just skated across all of Canada.
Yeah, I saw that. I feel like a lot of these really long skates, they're just kind of doing it for a world record, and then you might not see them on skates again.
Yeah, and it's like, that's wicked cool. Obviously, like, his skate was cool, and he was helping raise funds for Saving the Bees, I love that. But it's like, I want to kind of create a network where we're always doing this.
Right.
Where maybe instead of going to RAGBRAI, we're now going to an ultra skate across Iowa, and we've got 500 or 1,000 bladers that are doing it, and it's, all the money we generate could go towards a great cause. And it's like, having an infrastructure like that, having a community like that would be so cool.
I know Casey Cleveland was organizing some skate in Oregon.
Yeah, she's doing Seattle to Portland. It's another bicycle ride. It's a 2-day 200-mile ride from Seattle to Portland. And she's trying to get more skaters, and she's been talking to me for years, and I'm trying to do that one. I just got to get it lined up with the schedule. But
you've gotten Bambi on the big wheel blades too. She comes from a roller skate background, well known in that sport. And now I see her on some long distance skates with you. You did New Mexico.
She loves it. She'd gotten into it on her own. She had started it before we started dating. But then we kind of like, bonded over that experience, which has been really great, being able to bond over skating. And she was already a super strong, powerful skater. So jumping onto big wheels, like, she rocks them. She's done RAGBRAI twice now. We skated across the state of New Mexico, which was insane. That was kind of like early in our relationship. And we both had full frame backpacks with, like, her pack must have weighed 20 pounds, I think, and mine was closer to 30 pounds. And it's like, doesn't sound like a lot of weight, but when you're skating across the highway of New Mexico and it's 80 degrees and the road's extremely rough and we're trying to do 60 miles, like, backpack's pretty heavy. And like, we spent 3 weeks kind of skipping around that state between skating really awesome portions and then hopping on a bus and going to the next city and then skating, here and there, staying at a bunch of state parks. Awesome experience. And she's just like, she loved it. She loves the distance. And like, there were times where I was trying to keep up with her, which is like, for me, funny, because she's, half my weight, half my size. So it's like, some of these big hills, I see her with her backpack and she'd be pulling away from me and I'd just be like, ah.
And that trip was documented in an article you guys put together for bigwheelblading.com.
Yeah.
So I'll post a link to it below for people to check it out.
Yeah, man. New Mexico, I think we both really fell in love with that state. Like, we've looked at it several times, possibly moving there. We're both kind of looking for land so we can sort of start our own skate farm kind of vibe. So in New Mexico has been on our list. We've been looking, but it's one of those states that's having a water crisis. So it's like,
right. Vermont's perfect if you start skiing too.
Yeah, man.
Lots of land, lots of skate parks, and lots of skiing.
I have to look into that. We're looking at Minnesota right now too. She works out of Red Wing, Minnesota, which is right outside Minneapolis.
Okay.
Really beautiful up there. The roads are nice. The nature's really nice.
So I think we're gonna wrap up the interview today. I just wanted to ask you, what are your future skating plans? Now you've done the ultra this year. Do you have plans ready for next year, or are you just going with the flow?
Yeah. So as far as this year, I have 2 ultras left. I'm going to skate from my house to Chicago and then from my house to St. Louis. Both of those are Chicago's close to 400 miles, and I think St. Louis is closer to 500 miles. I'm trying to shift as I do these ultras. I'm trying to shift closer and closer to being unsupported because I want to get to the most lightweight version that I can be in skate unsupported. 2022, I'm really excited about. I've got some, I don't want to say bigger skates, but I'm going to be skating. I'm going to be skating a lot. So I'm excited.
Awesome. I can't wait to see your adventures. Oh, you're always fun to watch, all your stories and your trips. So Caleb, it was really great talking with you. If people want to find out more about you, they can follow you on Instagram.
At Kale Boston. Kale like the vegetable, Boston like the city. I think Facebook's the same.
Okay.
Or find me through Big Wheel Blading, various things.
I'll add links below so people can check it out.
Yeah.
Well, Caleb, thanks for joining us today. It was really interesting to talk to you about the ultra skating and your history in the sport. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit the like button below, subscribe to this channel to see more videos in the future. Thank you all and take care. Bye, Caleb. Good talking to you.
Good talking to you, Jan.